are listening to the 10 Questions with the Musical Mind podcast with your host, Peter Harris.
Hey everybody, Peter Harris here for 10 Questions with the Musical Mind and the Inside the Musical Mind blog. Today I want to talk about Van Halen. Van Halen as far as the legacy and or the lack thereof of the band. And by this I mean the release of archival material, rare stuff, that kind of thing. Every other band that's a legacy band from Rush to Led Zeppelin has released tons of stuff over the years as far as box sets and remasters and, demos, that kind of thing, live concerts, what have you. And that's something that Van Halen's just never been interested in doing very much. Even their, packaging for albums over the years has generally just been cool covers a lot, but not a ton of inside liner material. The recent release of the Japanese singles 1978 to 1984 is a good example to me. It's a vinyl release of 45s of all the singles released in Japan from the original six-pack. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. No rare photographs, no, nothing else, no unreleased songs, no demos, no nothing extra. They do have a single edit of Hot for Teacher. So great, the extra material is a shorter version of a song we've already heard. I guess that's cool, and some, here's less of what you want. I don't know. But I would love, even if it was just rare, photos and or some kind of, bonus, a video disc of backstage footage from those tours, that kind of thing would be heaven for diehard fans. Now, before the Live at the Tokyo Dome album came out in 2015, the band stated they were releasing a project, and that turned out in hindsight to be they were planning on releasing a thing of their demos remastered, and Eddie says that the demos were lost. And I don't know what the organization system is at Warner Brothers Records, but I imagine it involves more than tossing an unlabeled cassette master tape into a closet and hoping you can find it 40 years later. I think they probably don't run the business that way, but I don't work there, but I find it unlikely. And he just said they don't exist and they couldn't do that. Oh, well, no point in looking anymore. Now, he also said they tried to work on some of the Club Days bootlegs, but they just couldn't be salvaged. They were so terrible finding. Now, I should also point out that there was a difference between the Warner Brothers demos and the Gene Simmons demos. And both of those demos, of course, have been available online for years. And they are fantastic. If there was a remastered and polished up version of those demos released as a box set, I'd buy that just to have a good audio quality version of those songs. Yes, a lot of them became songs on the original six-pack albums. Of course, things like Voodoo Queen became Mean Street, that kind of thing. But, to be fair, if we hadn't heard those demos online for the last 10, 15 years, and they suddenly released that as a box set of rarities, we'd be in heaven. I mean, if we'd never heard any of that stuff before, we heard the raw, pre-fame Van Halen hashing out these songs in the original form, it'd be like finding a gold mine all over again. So, hopefully they can do something with that at some point. I just don't know that, I think it's Eddie's ego and him just not necessarily being happy with the material that he doesn't want it released. There are several other examples, things like the Wildlife soundtrack music that he was never happy with. Things like Donut City could be a fantastic song if they remastered that, touched it up a little bit, and released that as a rare, unreleased song on a box set. I'd be happy with that. A lot of the music for that did end up becoming rhythm beds for the 5150 album, but a lot of it was also original stuff that never appeared anywhere else and was worthy of inclusion in some kind of set, I would think. He had a lot of neat playing in that era too, especially as lead was getting kind of eccentric there and still rooted in a rock format. As far as the 10 albums worth of material stashed away in 5150, I don't doubt the material's there. We've all seen the pictures of the shelves full of music. I just don't know what state that music exists in. Is it 2-inch tape of random noodling where he just messes around for 2 hours, and there was a couple cool riffs in part of it, and he doesn't know where exactly on the tape it is. And, I don't know what it is. I doubt that it's finished songs. I would bet money that it's not finished songs. It's ideas and snippets of ideas and blurbs and him goofing off, which in its own right would have merit. I would listen to that stuff in a heartbeat. But I also wonder about the validity of a lot of the ideas and music on that tape when he chose to release things like Strung Out on Balance. Was him, messing with the piano strings and ping pong balls on Marvin Hamlish's piano. It's interesting. It's not good. It's weird. The fact that he found that strong enough to include on a studio album makes me wonder. There couldn't be a ton of fantastic stuff sitting there that he just chose not to release. But you never know. I don't know. The people who have been in 5150, and I've spoken to one or two of them, have never been able to go through there and rummage through that stuff and listen to it. So I just think it's a matter of Eddie, primarily, just not choosing to go through it and salvage any of it or look through it and see what's salvageable. Now let's get to the Holy Grail. Of course, if Van Halen would release anything that diehard fans have been longing for, it would be the Oakland Fair Warning Tour 1981 concert. Of course, there were the 3 live videos, Unchained, So This Is Love, and Hear About It Later. But, of course, they've all said that's all there is. There's nothing else recorded. The entire show doesn't exist. Of course, me and many others point out, why do you drag film cameras and do all that setup and get the audio truck rolling and then just shut it off make sure we don't document anything else. We don't want to have anything else to show of this. Cut it off right after that song. It just doesn't seem likely. Other things that point out to that not necessarily being 100% accurate are things like this. What is that, you ask? That is 2 seconds in the Unchained video where the guitar magically switches from the black and white Circles guitar to his red, white, and black Frankenstein guitar, and then it switches back. Now, unless the laws of time and space cease to exist for those 3 or 4 seconds in Oakland, California in 1981, I think the better explanation is that there was more stuff recorded and somebody edited in that and just didn't catch the mistake. But we'll never know. I know a couple years ago, Michael Anthony was asked in an interview with Eddie Trunk, and he said, no, that's all there was. To my knowledge, that's all they recorded. So, I can't see any reason why he'd lie about that. But yeah, who knows? Especially also the 1979 live videos for You're No Good and Bottoms Up, that kind of thing, was professionally shot. There was backstage footage. Did they turn off the cameras that second? You mean to tell me there's not another 5 minutes of tape anywhere else? They didn't record any other songs just in case? Record any other backstage antics for inclusion or possible intros and outros to those videos? Seems unlikely. Seems like that's just what they chose to use at the time. That's fine. But I bet you more footage exists somewhere. They just haven't chosen to go through all that stuff. I think it's maybe one of those things where, unfortunately, we may have to wait until, God forbid, the brothers pass and somebody else with the advantage of a third-party perspective takes up the mantle, whether that be Wolf or someone else. I imagine it'll be somebody like Wolf, and hopefully at some point he will go through that stuff without the first-person ego attached and just say, hey, let's look at this, let's include this, let's salvage this, let's remix and remaster that. That'd be fantastic. But I think that's our best hope at this point, is to hope that, somebody down the line, Wolfgang Van Halen, get some engineers together and they can parcel together some stuff that we haven't seen, because I guarantee you there's some stuff there in 5150 that could be cobbled together that would be interest diehard fans. I just don't think Eddie is interested in releasing it. So hopefully we'll see. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to see released? Rarities that you think may exist or sure exist that I'm forgetting or leaving out at the moment? Let me know in the comments, and I'd like to hear about it.